the three British literature periods, the Dark Ages 43 CE to 1066. Two important literary works during the Dark Ages, Beowulf and the Battle of Malmadon. Beowulf is an Old English epic poem about a hero named Beowulf who fights the monster Grendel, defeats Grendel's mother, and later battles a dragon in his old age. It is one of the oldest and most famous pieces of English literature. It's important because it shows a key Anglo-Saxon values like bravery, loyalty, and honor, and it preserves the early English language and storytelling tradition. Beowulf also helps us understand what people in that time believed, feared, and admired, making it a major window into early medieval culture. The Battle of Malmadon. It is an Old English poem describing a real battle in 991 AD between Anglo-Saxons warriors led by Earl Byrhtnoth and Viking invaders. Byrhtnoth refused to pay the Vikings and chose to fight, but after allowing them to cross a narrow causeway, he was killed and the Anglo-Saxons lost. It's important because it inspired a famous Old English poem that shows Anglo-Saxons' values like bravery and loyalty, and it gives us an insight into culture, language, and history of that time. Four important things going on with language or literature during the Dark Ages. No official language. There's no official language during the Dark Ages, but most of the literature during the Dark Ages survives through oral storytelling, which is how famous tales like Beowulf will preserve, showing that language and literature relied on memory and performance to pass down culture, history, and heroic values in a time when few people could read and write. The use of runes. Runes are letters of runic alphabet used by Germanic people, including Anglo-Saxons, Norse, early Europeans before the widespread of Latin, giving us a rare glimpse into Dark Ages and how this influenced English language, culture, and belief, and show how people began moving from purely oral storytelling to written records. Naming things after deities. People in the past often named days and other things after their gods. For example, Tuesday comes from Tuesday and Thursday comes from Thursday, and we still use these names the modern English, showing how English and belief of early people have lasted for centuries. It also helps us understand how culture, religion, and everyday life were connected in the past. Anglo-Saxon's Chronicle. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle is a collection of yearly records of historical events written in Old English by monks over several centuries. It documents important events like battle, king's reigns, and Viking invasions, providing one of the few detailed accounts of life and society during the Dark Ages. It also shows how Anglo-Saxons used their own language to record history, helping preserve their culture and perspective for future generations. Four important things going on in Britain in general during the Dark Ages. Migration and settlements of Germanic tribes. After Roman rule ended in 410, Germanic tribes such as Anglo-Saxons, Jutes, and others migrated and settled in Britain. This group gradually formed a new communities and took over the lands once controlled by Rome. Their arrival helped shape the early English language and laid the foundation for Anglo-Saxon's culture. The Battle of Edington. The Battle of Edington in 1878 was a major conflict between the Anglo-Saxons led by King Alfred of Wessex and the invading Vikings, especially the Great Heathen Army. Alfred's victory stopped the Vikings from taking over all of England. It also led to the Treaty of Widmore, which created peace and established the Danelaw, an area under control by Vikings. Conversion to Christianity. During this period, many of the Anglo-Saxons kingdom converted to Christianity. Monasteries became major centers of learning, writing, and culture. They preserved older tradition, recorded history, and produced literature, helping develop a written culture rather than only oral tradition. Unification of England. The unification of England during the Anglo-Saxon era was a gradual process of bringing together the various Anglo-Saxon kingdoms like Wessex, Mercia, Northumbria, and East Anglia under a single ruler. Before this, England was divided into small, several kingdoms that often fought each other. The Middle Ages, 1150 to 1450. Two important literary works during the Middle Ages, Wycliffe Bible and the Canterbury Tales. The Wycliffe Bible. As English began to evolve during the Middle Ages and Christianity became more influential, John Wycliffe translated the Latin Bible into English, creating the Wycliffe Bible. This translation made the scripture more accessible to ordinary people who can read Latin. It also plays an important role in development of English religious reform. The Canterbury Tales. The Canterbury Tales is a collection of stories written in the late 1300s by Geoffrey Chaucer, who is often called the father of English literature. The stories are told by a group of pilgrims traveling to Canterbury, and each person tells a story to entertain the others on the trip. The characters came from all different parts of medieval time: knights, workers, students, noble, and even talkative wives, making the story funny and interesting and relatable. It's important because it was written in Middle English, the everyday language people actually spoke, which helped shape the English we use today. It also shows what is life back then, including people's belief, problem, humor, and personality. Four important things going on with language or literature during the Middle Ages. Borrowing words. They began borrowing words from French, and even through some Latin words were already part of the language. Over time, the people pronounced and spelled words has also started to change. Roman alphabet. The English language adopted the Roman alphabet, which helped it develop into form under much closer to the modern English we use today. While some words change over time, many others have stayed the same. Pronouns. Pronouns also change along with the adoption of Roman alphabets. Some pronouns are very different from what we use today, but others like he, his, we, us, he, him, and me have stayed the same from around 800 to today. Affixes. During the Middle Ages, the English borrowed many words from Latin and French, and affixes were also added to create new words. Affixes are part of words added to the beginning or end to change their meaning. This helped English expand its vocabulary and form more complex words, many of which are still used in modern English. More important things going on in Britain in general during the Middle Ages. Rise of middle class. During the Middle Ages, the middle class began to rise, and people in this group were able to work, receive an education, and get treated and participate in society. Their growing influence helped create a more balanced, stable community as the middle class expanded. It also brought new ideas, skills, and opportunities that improved daily life and encouraged social and economic growth. Plays. During this time, three new genres of plays were introduced because of the strong Christian influence. Mystery plays acted out stories from Bible, helping people understand scriptures. Miracle plays focus on the lives and miracles of saints. Morality plays taught moral lessons about how people should behave using symbolic characters. These types of plays become an important part of medieval religious and cultural life. The use of English in courts and school. As the language continued to evolve, English became more accessible for people to learn and use. It gradually began to be used in courts and school instead of only French and Latin. This change made education and legal matter easier for ordinary people to understand, helping English grow into the main language of everyday life in England. Black Death. During the Middle Ages, the Black Death became one of the most important events in Britain. When the plague reached Britain in 1348, killed a huge part of population, causing farm, towns, and even the whole village to collapse. Because so many workers died, the feudal system began to break down, and the surviving peasants demanded better pay and more freedom. They shifted power away from the nobles and helped create major social and economic changes in Britain. The Renaissance era, 14th to 17th century. Two important literary works during the Renaissance era: The Hamlet and the Romeo and Juliet. The Hamlet, written by William Shakespeare around 1600 to 1601, is a tragedy about Prince Hamlet of Denmark who seeks to avenge his father's murder by his uncle Claudius, now king and married to Hamlet's mother. The play explores the theme of revenge, morality, madness, corruption, death, and human psychology, making one of the Shakespeare's most profound works. During the Renaissance, Hamlet was especially important because it reflected humanist ideas, emphasizing self-awareness, moral choice, and the complexity of human nature. Its psychological, realistic character and exploration of existential questions were groundbreaking compared to earlier, more symbolic and moralistic medieval plays. The plays also showcase the literary and cultural sophistication of Renaissance theater. It continues to influence literature, philosophy, drama, and films, while its studies offers insight into human thoughts, morality, and psychological complexity. Hamlet endures as a masterpiece that bridged Renaissance ideal into contemporary concerns. Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet is a tragic play written by William Shakespeare around 1595. It is one of the most famous works in English literature, and it tells the story of two young lovers from feuding family in Verona, Italy. Their love, passionate but doomed, and a series of misunderstanding, misfortune lead to their death, and later became the ultimate reasons that their family reconciled. Four important things going on with language or literature during the Renaissance era. Rise of humanism. Humanism became an important philosophy during the Renaissance. Writers in both Italy and Northern Renaissance explored humanist ideas by focusing on human feelings and encouraging people to think critically about long-standing institutions like religion and superstition. English expanding. During the Renaissance, the English language expanded and changed rapidly, and thousands of new words, many borrowed from Latin, Greek, and French, were added, and writers experimented with new vocabulary and way of expressing ideas. Shakespeare alone introduced hundreds of new words and phrases, helping shape the foundation of modern English. Printing press. Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press, which made making books much easier and less time-consuming because books became cheaper and more people learned to read and write. This greater access to knowledge helped spread the idea of Italian Renaissance to Northern Europe and beyond. Revival of Greek and Roman culture. Writers drew inspiration from ancient Greek and Roman works, using their themes, myth, and style to produce more advanced and refined poems, plays, and stories. Four important things going on in Britain in general during the Renaissance era. Rise of arts and science. During the Renaissance, arts became more realistic and focused on human experience, with artists drawing new techniques like perspective. At the same time, science advanced as people began questioning old belief and relying on observation and experiments. These changes led to major discovery and helped shape the foundation of modern world. Reformation. Reformation was a movement during the Renaissance that challenged the Catholic Church authorities and practice, leading the creation of Protestant churches and major religious changes in Europe, including the formation of Church of England. Science revolution. During this period, scientists began to base their understanding on observation, experimentation, and evidence rather than relying solely on traditional teaching from church or ancient authorities. Their discoveries in fields like astronomy, physics, and anatomy challenged old belief and helped establish the foundation of modern science. Age of exploration. The age of exploration during the Renaissance was a period when Europeans traveled to new land by sea, discovering new trade routes, resources, and culture. Advancing in navigation and shipbuilding made a long voyage possible, expanding knowledge of the world and increasing global trade and cultural exchange.